Hey there, this is Jessica again from your loan processing team. I've been trying to reach out to you regarding your loan application.
If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. That call or one like it probably landed in your phone today, or yesterday, or 5 times this week. I'm Keith Conrad, and this is Sidequests. Today, spam calls, robocalls, the relentless automated voices offering you loans you didn't apply for, debt relief you didn't request, and refinancing opportunities you never asked about. You might think these calls are just annoying and irritation, something to ignore, but they're actually more than that. They're a symptom of a massive ecosystem, a system that turns your personal information into profit, that has evolved over a century, accelerated by technology, and become nearly impossible to stop. Here's the story of why your phone won't stop ringing. Let's start with the numbers. In 2025, Americans received 52.5 billion robocalls. 52 billion with a B. That's 160 robocalls for every person in the United States in 1 year. Think about that, 160 unwanted calls per person in a single year. The vast majority, somewhere between 30 and 40%, are loan-related robocalls, debt relief, personal loans, mortgage refinancing, credit card offers, all the financial services that promise to solve your money problems. The FCC, the government agency responsible for regulating telecommunications, tracks complaints. The data is consistent. Loan offers dominate the robocall landscape. Why? It's because loan-related robocalls are profitable, more profitable than other spam categories. Someone picks up, someone's interested, someone applies, and the system that generates these calls keeps spinning, generating more calls, more leads, and more profit. But how does it work? How does the ecosystem actually function? How do these robocalls know who you are? How do they know your number? And how did you end up on so many lists? The answer involves fake websites, data brokers, telemarketing companies, and a lead generation industry that has turned personal information into a commodity. Imagine you're actually legitimately looking for a loan. You're worried about money, you need cash. You search online for personal loans or debt relief or refinance my mortgage. You click on a website that looks legitimate. Maybe it says loancomparisontool.com or fastrefinancecalculator.com or debtreliefready.com. Professional design, got a logo of a bank or two, reviews from customers, testimonials. Looks legit. You fill out a form, name, address, phone number, email, credit score range, income, debt level. The information seems like it's going to help you find a better loan. And you hit submit. And here's what actually happened. You didn't apply for a loan. You submitted your personal information to a fake website, a website designed to collect data and nothing more. That data is immediately sold, not to a bank or a lender who might actually approve you for a loan, but to a data broker, a telemarketing company, to multiple telemarketing companies. Your information is sold dozens of times, maybe hundreds of times. Each buyer thinks they have the right to contact you. Each buyer uses your information to generate calls, leads, and make more money. This is the lead generation industry, and it's massive. Companies create fake websites posing as legitimate financial services. They collect personal information from people searching for loans, debt relief, looking for ways to refinance. The information is then sold to telemarketers who place millions of calls trying to convert those leads into actual customers. The business model is simple. Collect data cheap, sell it expensive, repeat, scale up, automate, and generate billions of calls. In 2023, the FTC took action against a company called ResponseTree LLC. ResponseTree wasn't a typical telemarketing company. They were more sophisticated and more deceptive. ResponseTree operated more than 50 deceptive websites pretending to be loan comparison tools, debt relief calculators, mortgage refinance services. Each website collected personal information from unsuspecting consumers. ResponseTree then sold that customer data to telemarketers, and not just one telemarketer, multiple telemarketers. The same personal information sold again and again to different buyers. The result was millions of robocalls, all generated from data originally collected through fake websites operated by ResponseTree. When the FCC took action, the scope became even more clear. ResponseTree had collected information from hundreds of thousands of people, and all that information had been sold multiple times. All that information had fueled massive robocalling campaigns. One company, more than 50 deceptive websites, hundreds of thousands of victims, millions of illegal calls. ResponseTree's operation wasn't unique either. It was a relatively visible example of what thousands of companies are doing, creating fake websites, collecting data, selling it to telemarketers, fueling robocall epidemic. When you get a spam call offering a loan, there's often a specific script. The caller says something like, "Hi, I'm calling because we received your loan application," or "I'm following up on your request for debt relief." This is intentional. It's how the telemarketer justifies calling you. They claim you applied and submitted your information, consented to being contacted. They're using that claimed consent as legal cover for their telemarketing campaign. The reality is you probably didn't knowingly apply for anything. You filled out a form on a website you thought was legitimate, but the website was fake. The company that owns the website sold your information to the telemarketer, and now the telemarketer is using that transaction as justification for calling you. It's a technical loophole, a legal gray area, and a way for telemarketers to claim they have the right to call you when in reality, you never gave them permission to do anything. This didn't start with the internet. Phone scams are a lot older than you might think. In the 1920s, the early days of telephone technology, scammers were already operating. Fake investments, fake business opportunities, urgency tactics, act now or miss out, limited offer. The same psychological tactics, just delivered via telephone instead of email or website. By the 1950s and 60s, telemarketing became a professional industry. Call centers purchased phone lists, scripts, training, both legitimate businesses and fraudulent operations using the same technology. The same methods, the difference was intent. In the 1980s, computer technology changed just about everything. Automatic dial-in, computers could call thousands of numbers per day. Entire area codes could be called automatically. Robocalls became possible at scale. By the 1990s, fraud concerns were growing. State-level do-not-call lists were created. People could register their phone numbers. Theoretically, you wouldn't receive telemarketing calls if you were on the list. It worked for legitimate businesses. Companies following the rules respected the do-not-call lists, but naturally, scammers didn't. They already didn't follow the law. Adding a list they would ignore anyway didn't change their behavior. In 2003, the federal government created the National Do Not Call Registry, a massive public campaign. Sign up and you won't get unwanted calls. Millions of Americans registered. There was some initial success. Legitimate telemarketing declined. But the Do Not Call Registry never solved the robocall problem, because robocallers don't care about the law. They're already breaking it. Robocalls themselves are illegal without prior consent. Adding another law they violate anyway doesn't change their calculus. So if robocalls have been around since the 1980s, why are they so much worse now? Why did Americans receive 52.5 billion robocalls instead of, say, a gentleman's 5 billion? Two reasons: technology and geography. First, VoIP, Voice over Internet Protocol, internet-based calling. Traditional telephone calls required physical infrastructure, telephone poles, wires, equipment. This is expensive to maintain, had limited capacity. Calls cost actual money to place. VoIP is very different. A call is just data moving over the internet. Once you have an internet connection, calls are essentially free. You can make millions of calls for almost no cost at all. This dramatically lowered the barrier to entry for robocalling. You don't need expensive phone infrastructure, you just need a computer and an internet connection. You need software and you need lots of phone numbers. Phone numbers themselves can be spoofed. A scammer can use a different phone number for every single call. When you try to block the number, they've already moved on to the next one. Second, geography. Many spam call centers operate outside the United States, in countries where U.S. law has no jurisdiction. The FCC can take action against American companies. They can pursue enforcement, but they can't easily shut down operations in India, the Philippines, Pakistan, or dozens of other countries where large call centers operate. Even when those operations are discovered, enforcement is slow. Regulators move at bureaucratic speeds. Call centers move at internet speeds. By the time the FCC identifies an illegal operation and takes action, the operation is moved, changed names, set up somewhere else. A few years ago, the FTC investigated a robocall campaign operating under the name Crestwood Loan Advisors. This was one that I got myself. The campaign was massive, tens of millions of calls placed in a single month, tens of thousands of rotating phone numbers so that blocking individual numbers was completely useless. Consumers would block one number and the next call would come from a different one. The operation was sophisticated, professional, and clearly designed to evade detection. And it was all based on the same model. Collect data through fake websites, sell that data to telemarketers, generate millions of calls claiming consumers had applied for loans. When the FTC eventually took action, they found that Crestwood Loan Advisors was operating under a fake identity. The company behind it was using a shell corporation and front operators to hide their true nature. Blocking individual numbers doesn't work when the operation uses tens of thousands of rotating numbers, and you can't block your way out of the problem. The FCC and FTC are aware of the problem. They take action. They pursue enforcement, but enforcement is slow and robocall technology is fast. For every illegal operation shut down, 3 new ones start. For every phone number that gets blocked, 10 new ones are generated. The FTC and FCC coordinate their efforts. State attorneys general participate, joint task forces are created, but the fundamental problem remains. Regulators move slowly, scammers move very quickly. The technology enables criminals to operate at scale, to hide their identities, evade detection, and to move operations when they're discovered. Technology companies, like phone carriers, are also being pressured to do more, implement better call filtering, block obviously fraudulent calls automatically. Some progress has been made, but it's slow and scammers still adapt. You can't stop robocalls entirely, but you can reduce your exposure. You can make yourself a less attractive target. Stop answering unknown numbers at all. This is the hardest one because we're trained to answer our phones. Someone calls, we answer. It's just instinctive. You never know that it's a scammer. But here's the truth. If you answer an unknown number and a robocall connects, it confirms that your number is active. That's a real person answered. Your number becomes more vulnerable. It gets sold and it gets called more frequently. Let unknown numbers go to voicemail. If it's important, they'll leave you a message. If it's a robocall, you just saved yourself from confirming your number is active. Never press buttons. This one is critical. When a robocall says press 1 to speak with an agent or press 2 to be removed from this list, do not press anything. Button presses are data. They confirm that a real person is listening, that the number is active, that you're responsive. Your number becomes more vulnerable immediately. If you press 1, you're confirming your number works and someone is listening. You'll get more calls. Even pressing 2 won't remove you. You're just confirming the number works. Don't press buttons, ever. And you can also use carrier spam filters. Your phone carrier, Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, whoever provides your service, has built-in spam filtering. It's not perfect, but it blocks many spam calls automatically. Enable it. It's usually in your phone settings or your carrier's app. Use third-party call blocking apps. Apps like Umail, Haya, and RoboKiller use crowdsourced data to identify spam calls. They maintain constantly updated databases for known spam numbers, and they block them automatically. Like everything, these apps aren't perfect. Some legitimate calls might end up getting blocked, but they significantly reduce unwanted phone calls. And you can file complaints. Report unwanted robocalls to the FCC. The complaint volume directly influences enforcement priorities. The more complaints about a particular type of robocall, the more resources the FCC allocates to stopping it. Your complaint matters. It's data and evidence. It helps regulators understand what's happening and justify enforcement action. At the end of the day, why do robocalls persist? Because they work. They're profitable. every call that connects to a real person, every person who listens to the pitch, every person who presses a button or engages with the caller, every person who provides their information or asks a question, all of that fuels the ecosystem. Robocalls are profitable because enough people engage with them. Nobody ever answered if nobody ever pressed buttons or responded in any way. The robocall industry would collapse immediately. It's not sustainable if nobody engages, which means the most effective weapon against robocalls isn't technology, it's not regulation, it's not new laws, it's indifference, hanging up and just ignoring them. It's never confirming that you exist. The robocall epidemic persists because we collectively engage with it. Every engagement fuels the ecosystem. Every ignored call stars it slightly. So the next time your phone rings with an unknown number offering you a loan you didn't apply for, remember, you have some power here. You can hang up. You can ignore it. You can starve the system by refusing to engage. Or you can press 9 to be removed from this podcast.